Aston Villa fell to their third defeat in 4 league matches against Chelsea this afternoon. They're now winless in 8 matches. I don't think that comes as a massive shock to anybody. Chelsea are flying this season and Villa have struggled for consistency, something which Chelsea suffered from last season, to be fair, other teams as well. Villa, it's hard to put a finger on exactly what is going wrong at this point in the campaign. After beating Fulham over a month ago now, Villa had made their best start to a Premier League season for 25 years. That has quickly come undone, really. That is still Villa's last league win at Craven Cottage, which was over a month ago. It feels like even longer than that now, and Villa really do have 2 crucial home league matches next week, back to back against Brentford on Wednesday night, an 8:15 kick-off, and then early struggle with Southampton as well on the Saturday. Villa, if they take 6 points from those games, they will look in a relatively healthy position in the league table, actually. So football can change very quickly, and John McGinn said as much after the full time, explaining that it's good to have those games coming around quickly and that Villa can still achieve something very special this season. But they will need those results because confidence is low at the moment. Emery was asked about it in his post-match press conference and said, he was asked directly, are your players lacking confidence? And he said, not completely. So they are to a point. I think we can all see that. But he believes that Villa aren't too far away from finding, what they need to, at least a performance level is adequate enough to get a result against the teams that they'll be playing next week. Chelsea, again, are a good side. Villa have lost to Liverpool away, Tottenham away, now Chelsea away, and it's no disgrace. Villa obviously got results at Tottenham last season and Chelsea last season. They're now going to have to get results at home against those teams, which they didn't do, not wins anyway. They lost to Tottenham and drew to Chelsea last season. What I keep saying is that Villa were in 4th, or dropping down to 5th a little bit, even rising to 3rd last season for the majority of the campaign, and they stuck around those positions. I think Villa don't have to be in 5th or even 6th for 3 months running. They need to be in with a shout, to put it that way, for those positions in April or so, and that's a long way away still. When Villa are 1 point behind Tottenham, for example, and have 2 very winnable games coming up. So this is hardly a crisis situation. Villa haven't won in a long time, but, and I said it a lot in the last few weeks, that balance is important, and I do agree. This isn't a situation where wholesale changes are needed and huge reactions are required. Villa have lost to good teams, and I think last season they didn't necessarily overachieve. That would be wrong to say, but there has to be a come down, I think, from that, and there has been. We've seen that in the last few weeks, and that's okay as long as they can now respond. That's the key thing. So next week's going to be massive. The manner of the defeat today wasn't great. 3-0 defeat against a side who Villa want to be competing with. They didn't really compete on the pitch too much today. They were well beaten in the end. Ollie Watkins missed some 2 big chances, one in particular which would have levelled the game, and then a chance at the end of the second half. Jadon Philogene pulled it across the box. The game would have had a different sort of complexion to it come half time, but ultimately Villa didn't deserve anything from the game. So it's games are kind of marked on those fine margins, but Villa can have no real excuse. Today they weren't as good as Chelsea. They were the better team, Chelsea. There's no doubt about that. And again, Emery was happy enough to say that after full time, respectful of the opponent before the match and after it, as always. And as I say, Villa now take on a Brentford side who are a good team. They've got a very good home record. Brentford, not so much a good away record, but Villa will be sweating on the latest on the injury front. Martinez coming off at half time, Robin Olsen playing in the second half. Emery said that it's a hand injury. We'll see what happens with that in the coming days, whether he can play against Brentford and Southampton. We'll find out. Emery said he doesn't know too much about it at the moment. Amadou Onana didn't play today, or wasn't in the squad, sorry. Neither was Jacob Ramsey, but we knew that before. Hopefully Onana will be able to return for Brentford. But Villa have nearly got a fully fit team anyway, and those players coming back, yes, useful of course, but it's the way that they're playing that is the worry. They haven't looked particularly fluid all season. As I say, they made a great start. There's no doubt about it, and the league is very tight still. So I think that's why I have, optimism that this can be turned around. And Villa are certainly not out of the picture for a top 6, top 5 finish, whatever it may be. It's now 6 points between them and Chelsea. Hopefully the coefficient allows the extra European spot this season, and it could go down to 8th position, I think, for the Conference League, if a few things go Villa's way, essentially. So European football is definitely in the cards still this season, and for me, at the start of the campaign, I wanted a run in the Champions League and European football to remain in place for the next few seasons, and Villa still have that opportunity. They can be in the top 7, top 6 come the end of the season. It's still a long way to go, but at the moment, of course, it's all going to feel a bit, we all feel a bit down. Long way to go. It hasn't been a great last month, 6 weeks since Villa last won a football match. It's not something that anyone expected because of the levels that they set last season, but because of those levels that they set across 70 plus games, they were the 4th best team in England. I don't know if that's still the case in terms of since Emery came in. I haven't done the maths for a few weeks, but we've seen the evidence that this team can go on a run and prove people wrong. They'll have to do that again, else more questions will be asked, firmer questions, because as I say, these are winnable games now coming up, your next 2 home games. If they can win those 2 against Brentford and the Saints, they're in a good position in the league, then they go to Forest, got a game against Leipzig, City at home. What an opportunity that is against a team who are bang out of form. Newcastle away, another team who are struggling really against their objectives, and then Brighton at home. Difficult games in the Premier League all the time, granted, but Villa will go into those matches more enthused if they can turn their form around next week.